So I really enjoyed making this podcast. I had good energy and just some really good fire bringing it forward. Last week on the podcast, I talked a lot about why massage therapists aren't being taken seriously as healthcare providers, shed some light on what's going on with the schools, with the profession, and just some crazy people in there as well. So on this week's episode, what I wanted to do is actually equip you with 5 tactics that can actually move you in the right direction to being taken seriously as a healthcare provider. Because I said it before, I truly believe massage therapists should be a frontline, first go therapy for any type of chronic musculoskeletal injury or any musculoskeletal injury out there that needs to be solved, because people need soft tissue treatment. Yet we always put massage therapists like back of the line to chiropractors, physical therapists, orthopedics, and even personal trainers sometimes. And I want you to be equipped with the tactics and the tools so that you can be taken serious as a healthcare provider, and you can help me along my journey to getting more quality hands-on soft tissue treatment to people so they can avoid bigger problems like pain pills, injections, and surgery. So like I said, I brought some good energy today, and I hope that it can really help you along your journey to transforming what you do and becoming a solutions provider. I hope you enjoy the show. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Soft Tissue Revolution podcast. Dr. Matt Maggio here. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, downloading it, consuming it, and giving me your time and focus. It is your number one resource, and I am always very grateful for all the downloads we get, people that we're helping from all over the world, and just getting words of encouragement to continue to do this. We're changing the way treatment is delivered, how people get results. And I really want massage therapists to be a true solutions provider so they can help me along my journey to make pain pills go away, not a viable option, so people can have a better life, get better outcomes, and stay the hell out of the orthopedic surgeon's office, because it just makes things worse. So we're back at it for another podcast. Last week on the podcast, and if you haven't gone back and listened to that, probably should listen to that one first, because it gives some context about what I'm talking about today. But last week on the podcast, I talked about 3 reasons massage therapists aren't being taken seriously as a healthcare provider. It was one of those ones where it might hurt and sting a little bit to hear it, but it's something like you got to come to terms with what's going on and understand it so you can make changes. Because at the end of the day, I think and I believe with all my heart that soft tissue treatment is the premier treatment for any musculoskeletal injury. And that's where people need to start, and they need to go first. But a lot of times they end up at like a physical therapist, a chiropractor's office, and even worse, an orthopedic surgeon. And that just makes things worse. So on this podcast, what I wanted to do was actually share 5 tactics for massage therapists to be taken seriously as a healthcare provider. One, to just start, this isn't even a tactic, but you have to start with your mindset and your belief. I'm not like a woo-woo Tony Robbins type of guy and things like that, but you have to believe in yourself. I talk about this all the time, why I believe in massage therapists more than they believe in themselves. There's a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of just scarcity mindset that's built in. You feel like you're a secondary part of the treatment cycle, and that's what happened. That's what happened during COVID. It happens all the time as people look at you more as like a luxury, a non-essential type of thing, like something they can do, but they don't correlate it correctly with like, this is a first line treatment that you need. And there's a lot of people to blame. I talked about that in the last podcast, the schools, all the boards, and then the crazy fuckers out there that are energy healers and crystals and all that. And if you're still an energy healer and you're listening to this podcast still, I don't know what's going on. You must just hate me, but I only got a few hate messages last week from some of the energy healers that I didn't truly understand the power of the energy healing. It's like, whatever, you're a moron, and I feel bad for your clients and patients. So let's get right into it. 5 tactics for massage therapists to be taken seriously as a healthcare provider. Number 1, I think this is the most important one, is start figuring out what is wrong with your client. Ask questions. Become a solutions provider. I talk about this all the time, and I say this to massage therapists too. They're like, well, in my scope of practice, I'm not allowed to diagnose, so it doesn't matter. I'm like, fuck that. You're lazy, and your client deserves better too. You still need to know what's going on with your client, because no way in hell can you ever fix a problem if you don't know what it is in the first place. And if you think them filling out some bullshit intake form and you looking at it for 2 or 3 minutes is really going to get you to there, and I get these people all the time, they're like, well, once I get in there with my hands, I can really feel, and the tissue talks to me. Fuck off. That's such bullshit. You're you're so full of shit. You need to take time with the data, what's going on, to figure it out. And I have a free training where I talk about this all the time, and it's linked down below. But in that free training, I'm going to teach you the 7 problems that happen in the human body and the 7 questions to ask. Because once you can line it up and you know exactly what's wrong, you can actually fix somebody. Who would have thought that? If you can actually figure it out. It's like every other profession, they do a full evaluation and full diagnosis of what's going on, but massage is like, well, they didn't teach us in school on our boards. Like, fuck that. Like, you're lazy if you're doing that and you have that thinking. Like, you need to get to the root cause of what's going on and become that solutions provider. Number 2, I've been talking about this for 2 years now, and some people get it and some don't. Niche out. What does that mean? Become a specialist in one area of the body. Like, this whole like full body shit like just needs to go away. And a lot of people do, they're like, well, I treat one thing, but I also treat the whole body because they're all linked. Yeah, they are linked at some point, but by the time someone's in pain and they're ready to come in, they've already had a lot of damage to that area. So pick an area in the body. Like, I recommend being like a neck or shoulder provider. You can also do low back. You can do knee. You can do hip. But be that person in your area that's so fucking good, so good at what they do, and a true specialist. Because at the end of the day, people want a true specialist. Like, when they go to the orthopedic doctor, they're not just going to some guy that does head, shoulders, knees, and toes. They're going to that person that does shoulders or that person that does necks. And then you get into this idea, and this is where the limiting beliefs come in for massage therapists, is like, well, what if somebody calls for a knee? Well, there's fucking 10,000 other people in your area that have neck and shoulder problems, and they want to come to a true solutions provider. So really think about that. Think about niching out and really specializing, because it's real fucking hard to learn the whole body. I've learned the whole body, but in our clinics, what we really teach is we start with neck and shoulder, and then secondarily we'll do some low back stuff. But neck and shoulder is a sweet spot. I have podcasts where I talk about that, like why you should be a neck and shoulder specialist, but be some type of specialist. So many people out there are jacks of all trades, master of none. And if you think you can get all that in your mind and do that, it's not going to happen. Imagine what you can do when you just have to focus just on one area. That's going to make a really, really big difference, because when people are looking for a provider, they want a specialist. They want, like, oh man, so-and-so is a neck injury specialist. Like, what the fuck is that? That's awesome. That's what I need. I have a neck injury. They're not just like, oh, full body. Like, they don't equate that. And then that rolls right into number 3 is just start educating people about what you do, how you can help, and why you're a viable solution for their injuries. Once again, solutions. I talk about this all the time. You have to educate people about what you do. And a lot of that isn't like a big ego dump of like, well, I'm certified in this, this, and this, and this. It's like, no, you have to tell them that they have a problem that you can fix, and this is how you're going to do it. And just get out there and educate people. Like, use social media, do shit, put stuff out there, quit thinking about it so much, and just educating people. Like, I have over the years, I think I've made like 1,000 videos between Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and they're not great quality. They're not there, but the message is there. It's like, here's what happens when you have this problem. Here's how we fix it. This is what we go about, because people want to be educated. They want to go through that process and know that. And if you're not educating the clients and all you're talking about is like, here's my rates, here's what I do, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you have to communicate with them, and you have to let them know, like, you have a problem. I know what it is, and I can actually fix it. I'm a solutions provider. Once again, I sound like a broken, whatever it's called, a broken record, but you have to be a solutions provider. Everyone else out there wants to be a service provider and ain't getting you anywhere. And you're going to be stuck, and you're not going to survive going forward unless you become that solutions provider. And that starts with educating your clients properly, finding out who you really want to work with. The big thing is knowing exactly who you want to work with, but also knowing who you don't want to work with. You can't be for everybody. Number 4, call it the bullshit. Don't be afraid to call it the bullshit. Like, a lot of times you see this and people like put up this crazy shit of like energy healing, or they do all this weird shit, reflexology, all this stuff. I don't even understand what it does. Anything with ology in there really kind of sounds like quacky shit to me, but they're like putting up all these bogus claims and do that. Like, call those people out. Don't be afraid to do it, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with them because they're fucking crazy. Yeah, they are crazy, but they're also giving it a bad name. Or if you know bad things are going on around you, if there's like a clinic that's giving hand jobs, like, call the board, do that. Like, police yourself, police your profession, because you know what, your boards aren't doing that and your schools aren't doing that. And you're all just like, well, we can all get along because you do this and I do that. It's like, no, motherfucker, I'm the one that fixes people. You're the one doing a bunch of bullshit, energy healing, crystals, all sorts of shit that doesn't even work. So stop doing that. Call it out in the moment when it happens, because if you keep letting it happen, these people get a bigger voice and it becomes a bigger problem. Last one, number 5. Man, I'm bringing the fire today. Don't be cheap on CEUs or learning more. We all know school didn't prepare us going forward. But this is what happens. People are like, they reach out to me all the time. They're like, oh, hey, Dr. Maggio, I really want to learn your program. Do you offer CEUs? I'm like, no, I don't offer fucking CEUs because it's bullshit. Because when you have to do CEU courses, you have to do that. You have to get it approved by the board. And they're going to be like, well, it doesn't have this, doesn't have that. It's like, no, I'm going to teach you actually what you need to learn, how to actually get through that. So I always give this analogy. And this is what happened to me in chiropractic college. And this is what happens to a lot of massage therapists. So it's like, pretend like you went to an electrician school and you get out and you don't even know how to wire a fucking house. That's exactly what happens when they teach us in school. They just teach us all this bullshit to get through that. And a lot of these CEU providers are trying to do it for cheap. They're not really giving you any real value. And a lot of people choose their CEUs based off of that, or they don't want to spend a dime on training. You know, if it's something that can truly revolutionize and take you to the next level, spend the money. And don't look at it as like a cost. It's an investment. Like, do you want to be better? Or you just want to keep going through the motions? You want people to come in, fill out some bullshit form, lay down on the table. Here we go, blah, 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 blah. All right, see you in a couple weeks. Like, do you want to think? Do you want to be challenged? Do you want to think critically? Because if you do, there's a way to do it. But you can't just always look for the cheapest CEU courses because it ain't going to get you anywhere. And a lot of people that are selling them for cheap, they don't know jack shit about business, about diagnosis, anything like that. They're just trying to make a quick buck because you're fucking lazy. So I think that's all I got for today. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter. I tried to cut down on the cursing. Someone complained that I curse too much, but I really don't care. But you have to make that decision. You have to sit down with yourself and be like, am I really doing something that's truly helping people? Am I passionate about what I do? Am I excited to get up and do this every day? Or has like COVID kicked my ass, people kicked my ass, the world kicks my ass? Go back and listen to a podcast where I talked about that, like why I think you should just quit right now. Because if you're not in it, you're not. And the other one I talked about was like, you don't have to work your passion, but you got to be passionate about what you do. There's a lot of people struggling right now, but they're struggling because it's their own damn fault, because they haven't done anything to actually get themselves to a upper echelon. See, I use a fancy word there. Upper echelon of where they can offer, and they're just like everybody else, and they're a commodity. You can be so much better. You can be a solutions provider. You can change people's lives, because at the end of the day, this is life and death shit. I think I'm going to make a podcast about that. Like, someone asked me the other day, like, why I'm so passionate about what I do and why I get so fired up, because this is life and death shit. Because you know what? If these people don't get the treatment that they need, they're going to end up in the orthopedic model. They are. And you know what happens there? Pain pills, injections, and surgeries, and people end up dead. Like, that's not like that's just being a conspiracy theory. No, that's the facts. People are dying. Opioid deaths are on the rise because people aren't getting good quality care. And they're not going to get it from some bullshit chiropractor that's just doing adjustments, or some PT that's just going through the motions, or some personal trainer. They're going to get it from you, but you have to make that commitment to want to do that, to want to go to the next level. And until you decide that you want to be better, you're going to be stuck in mediocrity, and you're going to continue to play that victim. So a little ranty there towards the end. That's all I got. Appreciate you guys. Share the episode. Send me a message. If you don't like what I say, don't listen anymore. That's totally fine. But if you don't like what I say and you have some good reasons why, send me a message too. I always like to talk and have conversations, but hope you guys are just doing well out there. You know, it's kind of just some crazy times and we go through it, but hey, you got to keep your head down, focus on what's important, what you want to do, the changes you want to make, and take it to the next level. So appreciate you guys listening, and I will see you on the next one. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the show. If you're a massage therapist and you want to learn more about our new methods that allow you to easily double your income without working any harder or getting burnout, we have some free resources for you. 1, join our Facebook group, The Soft Tissue Revolution. 2, subscribe to our YouTube channel. 3, request our free training series. 4, leave us a 5-star review and share this podcast with anyone else you know it can help. Links to all our channels and free training are in the show notes.